Have you wondered about 2025? Because 2024 was so crazy and bonkers, and all the things you wanted didn't happen, all the things you didn't want did happen, and you had very little control. Well, guess what? With AI and with the trends that are going to hit you, it's going to get even more challenging. And it doesn't matter what position you are, whether you're working for somebody, running your own business, or even becoming a student and thinking, right, I graduate soon, the world is my oyster. It may well be, but you might find out you don't like oysters. So how are you going to guarantee to get through all this? Get yourself a mentor. And how do you find the right kind of mentor? And why do they charge you so much money? And what selection process can you put them through to make sure that somebody will get you into 2026 the right way? That and more is what we're going to be addressing on today's show. Sit tight, make some notes, and enjoy. This is Speak on Stage. Welcome to Speak on Stage with Dave Crane, the podcast where we unpack the art and science of public speaking to help you command the stage with confidence and authority. I'm your host, Dave Crane, and as a seasoned speaker, coach, and entertainer, I've had the privilege of helping thousands of individuals like you to unlock their true potential on stage all around the world. Each week we'll bring you candid conversations with industry experts, successful speakers, and thought leaders, delving into proven strategies, practical tips, and personal anecdotes to empower you to become a captivating communicator. So whether you're a seasoned pro looking to refine your skills, or a beginner taking your first steps onto the stage, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering the craft of public speaking. So grab your notepad, open your mind, and get ready to amplify your impact as we embark on this journey together. Welcome to Speak on Stage with Dave Crane. Together, let's jump and grow wings on the way down. I like that guy's voice. He sounds a bit like me, to be honest with you, and so you should do, because it is me. You didn't know that, did you? You did? Okay, it's so obvious. Right, welcome to the show, and it's all about mentors, as you probably guessed. Now, before we do anything, I've got one thing I have to do, and that's have a quick swig of coffee. In fact, I've got my friend's mug. Strange, isn't it? I normally have my Christmas mug all year round, but today, I'm heading towards Christmas at the time of broadcasting. It's not there. This is my friend's mug. Can you see it there? And I tried to get my 14-year-old daughter, Maya, to be interested in Friends, which for me, growing up in my whatever age I was at the time, was one of the most important cultural epic programs ever. We had 6 people who just spent their entire life laughing and loving life and getting on really well together. No black people, it does make it a bad show. Anyway, so I'll try to get her into it. Not a jot, not a bit of interest in it. I think, when sometimes kids sit with you and they patronize you by saying, I know it's important to you for me to see this, but I really would rather go back to TikTok or South Park. That's what happened. So let's get back to this. Mentors. That's today's subject. So why would you get a mentor? What would they do for you? And what criteria should you use for being able to get a mentor as well? So before we do anything, welcome to Speak on Stage. This is a show that helps you to raise your game and jump and grow wings on the way down. If you're listening to this and it's a podcast, I will be sharing with you some images and some pictures and some videos, and you'll just have to believe me that they're really cool. If you're watching it and you're excited about it, then make sure you subscribe. Follow me on all social media, either Dave Crane or The Life Designer, or The Dave Crane in some cases, like on Instagram. And also make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. We're going out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, at least. Many other places will chop up the bits and share them out with everybody as well. So there we go, Speak on Stage. Welcome to the show, and let's get straight into it. So here's the question. The big question is how to get a thought leader to mentor you. And you're probably going to say, Dave, why do I need a thought leader? Why is that so important? Well, very simply, when you've got a thought leader working with you, that means that somebody who's got a proven track record of making a change is going to give you the insights on how to really raise your game. And if you're thinking, well, why do I need to have somebody raise my game? Because if you don't do it with a thought leader, or you don't do it with a mentor of any description, you'll have to learn the hard way. Now, here's where the big problem comes. Learning the hard way, if you're very young, is okay. It might take you 10 years, might take you 5 years to be able to get to a really good level where you're competent. But things are changing so much. And sometimes the only way that you can read life is backwards. In fact, the only way you can read life is backwards. In the future, you can't see, but you can see what's happened before. So somebody who's been in the industry for a long time can see trends and changes like recessions and so on. Like, for instance, when there's a recession and everyone's saying, gotta sell all my stock. Anybody who's smart, who's not playing the sell every single day thing like a trader, says, wait. Because stocks go up and they come down again. Wait, and it will go back to its level once all that stuff is finished. That's why I need somebody who can turn around and say, yeah, do it that way. Much easier, rather than running around like a headless chicken and trying to get things to work. Does that make sense with you? Good. Okay, great. So let's get back to this. So when you've got somebody and you want to work with them, you need to make sure that there's a proven track record that they are very good at what they do. So before I do anything and share with you anything about who I am and what I do, let's hear what people say. Therefore, you know you've got a mentor who's got a proven track record of producing great results like this.
I have been participating in Dave Crane's Industry Icon program.
Dave Crane is one of the best coaches in the industry.
One of the most knowledgeable speakers I know.
I was so impressed.
He shared the stage with celebrities, athletes, politicians, and royalty.
You've been an inspiration to me since the first time I saw you on LinkedIn, man.
New prospects should know that you are a world-class broadcaster.
He's a true professional. He operates from his heart, and he always speaks his truth.
Where do I begin?
I looked around the room and all I could see was eyes on you, ears on you. You could have heard a pencil drop.
Dave is someone who is a limitless thinker with a big heart.
And his Industry Icon program helps coach great leaders into becoming great speakers.
So that's who I am, what I do. When I'm mentoring people, I work on positioning themselves to be really good at what they do. And here's the thing, just on the back of that, if you want to hire me as a mentor for you as well, then this is all you do. Get the QR code. If you're listening to it, then I'll give you details in the comments section on your choice of listening device. It's usually a phone. Nothing else seems to exist anymore. So if not, the QR code is there. You can always go to me directly and message me through whichever platform you're viewing or listening to this, usually LinkedIn, or the QR code will send you to speakonstage.com and then just / VIP_mentoring, and that'll get you to where you need to be. So the kind of things that I will help you with, in fact, the VIP mentoring sessions are really unusual because when I do a session with somebody, often they have some kind of idea about what they want. And then when you start talking together, you realize that often the challenge isn't what they want, it's something completely different. Like, for instance, somebody turns around and says, I want to be a millionaire, I want to make tons of money. Why do you want that? Well, because I can buy lots of stuff. What's the problem right now? I'm in credit card debt. Okay, so supposing what we do is we work out a plan to just pay off your credit card debt. Would that make life easier? Oh, yes, it would be. What do you want to buy with these millions? Well, nothing really, just what I have, but I can't do it because of a credit card debt. So we sort that out, and then you're actually okay. Yeah, I never thought of that, but we can build more on top of it as well. Yeah, perfect. That's a typical conversation when you're working with somebody as a mentor. Yes, we can get incredible stuff, but your job is to also decipher what they say and what they don't say to be able to get them the results that they want in a fraction of the time. And it really works. That's why I've got my own mentors, and I really do urge you to look and get yours too. So, kind of projects I do is everything from personal branding to public speaking to getting fans and followers to overcoming imposter syndrome, launching your own podcast or TV show, creating incredible content that people want to get close to. Maybe you want to write a book, maybe you want to organize events and have retreats so you can share your expertise, maybe monetizing your expertise as well to turn it into cash because you've been around for a long time, you know what you're doing, and also create that legacy so people know that you're the best at what you do. All those things and more I do. I often get the question, Dave, why do you charge? I just want to sit with you. I'll buy you lunch or buy you a cup of tea. Let me pick your brains. Really important this. So why would I not just go, okay, let me answer all your questions? Well, first of all, I have a family to feed. And Dubai's not cheap. Well, actually, it's really good. But it's more than that. Here's what happens when you spend time. And everybody who is an expert on something, this is what you really need to pay attention to. You can barter your time, but you must establish that your time is not free. Why? Because you've worked really hard to get to where you are. The gray hair is not by accident. When you talk to me about DJing, or you talk to me about entertainment, or audiences, or marketing, or any of the things that writing, speaking, communicating, media, I've done it for so many years. I know all the things you need to do to be able to position yourself and do really well in a fraction of a time, because all the old media is very different. The landscape that I was working in is very different from the one that's going to be in the future, but success leaves clues. And when you take the stuff that worked before, put it in for a new ringer and put it out into a new audience, you can still make it work, rather than thinking this is completely new, there's no precedent for it. But there is. People who've been around for a long time know this. So there's got to be a value attached to what it is that you do. And so when people say to me, Dave, let me take you for lunch. Well, first of all, I can buy my own lunch. I can buy my own coffee. That's not a problem. But here's what happens. You sit there and they ask you a ton of questions. And they write notes, copious notes, books of notes, flip it over. Oh, what about this? Oh, that's amazing, amazing. But then they're so grateful. Let me pay for lunch. You deserve it. That's amazing. But what they do next is they won't pay you for your services, because that was a deal, got lunch. But they still need that stuff to be done, and they're not an expert at it. So what do they do next? They hire somebody else who's cheaper than you to do the heavy lifting. So it might be the person is a competition to you, or it might be somebody who's even further down the food chain, but in the same kind of industry, and they say, look, can you help me? I've got this plan. What will it take for you to do this for me? So the person who's nowhere near you on stature turns around and goes, wow, that's a really good idea. Okay, it'll cost you X, Y, Z. They go, great, take my money. So now they have paid somebody, but not you. And also, your competition is now able to rise up the food chain because they've got your strategy, and they can charge more and be in competition to you and undercut you. So when you turn around to people and say, right, I want to charge you for my expertise, they say, oh no, the other guy did the same thing. He said he's going to do the same stuff as you. Now, if you charge somebody for your time and you share this information with them and they can raise their game because that's what they're paying you for, if they then want to go to somebody else, happy days, that's fair enough, because your job is to keep lifting your own game. So you're better at doing it, but at least you're being compensated for that time you spent with somebody. If you give it away for free, then in my opinion, you're a bit of a fool. I'm not saying you shouldn't help people. I'm not saying you shouldn't pass it on. But if you worked really hard on it, why would you give it away for free? Which is exactly what the Joker says in The Dark Knight Returns. Not in The Dark Knight. That's Heath Ledger. Watch the quote. You know what I'm talking about, before the pencil. Anyway, so that's why you charge. Other questions? Well, why do all decision makers need a mentor? If you're already out there and you're doing stuff, why would I need to get somebody to help me with this? Well, it's very simple. When you think about it, you learn faster and smarter, and you make less mistakes. You can make better calls at the time and get crystal clear advice based on the fact that you know what you're meant to do and not do. You can open new doors to business that you might not have even known existed. So therefore, when you're speaking at an event and you record it, or get someone to hold your phone and record you speaking, you've got footage to get you bigger and better gigs in the future. 99% of the people I talk to who come to me for mentoring have no idea how to get another gig after the upcoming one that's coming. That's a big clue. You can boost your confidence and step into a leadership role much easier because you've got support of somebody who's been there, who's got your back. Get personal guidance, which is tailored to you, not like watching it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. It's done in a way that you can utilize it straight away and save time. It gives you emotional backup as well, because you're not worried so much about the highs and lows of life. You've got somebody else who's been through that, who's got your back. You can stay on track. So many things in daily life challenge you and take you and distract you and make you go in different places. When you've got a mentor, they can often say to you, first of all, they're checking to see how well you did with your homework, but also they can tell you, this is what's going to happen at the event. Ignore all that, just carry on. So for instance, let's take an example. I had a conversation the other day with a dear friend of mine, and we're talking about live broadcasts. And I was on about the fact that I said, you're a brilliant, brilliant MC. And is Munir Al-Basadi, by the way, was at the Gladiator Forum a little while ago. And I've known him for many, many years. Stand-up comedian, hypnotherapist, top guy. And I said, I really enjoyed you being an MC at that event. He said, well, I'm glad to hear it. Thank you very much. I said, you know why I really enjoyed it so much? He said, no. I said, because some of your jokes were rubbish. And he went, well, why is that good? I said, because I knew that you were talking from the heart. You're making it up as you go along. You're being in the moment with the audience at that time. And when you do it and it's not rehearsed, some of your jokes are going to work and some are going to fall flat and some are going to be incredible. But it's an ongoing process. But when you create a relationship with the audience, they'll forgive you for the bad jokes, they'll chuckle a little bit, but they'll all do what you say because you've got their Wi-Fi code, you've created engagement, and they're with you. How do I know that? Because I've done it for a very long time. I've watched people working through scripts. Most of the worst speakers I see, who are usually CEOs, are working through a script given to them by a PR team who have translated what they need to say in the press release into a sheet of a press release to read out. Live, no engagement, it's terrible. So when I talk about it, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, staying on track is important. And also fueling fresh ideas as you go along, because sometimes the roadmap that you're working on is different from the one that came before, and you need to know how you can adapt it to make sure you're on track for it. And that's really important too. It levels you up as a leader so you can inspire and manage like a pro at all times. It means that you're not super vulnerable when you need to be super professional. And last but not least here, you build long-term wins. So you're not going up and down all the way through. You're knowing exactly where you're heading. And that way you've got a strong foundation for creating lasting success. If this makes sense to you, then fantastic. I know I'm reading a lot of this stuff, but if you're on the podcast and you're listening to it, you're going, well, Dave, I can't read it. Can you read it out? And also, if you are watching the podcast on your phone, it's far too small for you to see what I'm saying. So win-win in all directions. So that's what we're talking about. It's all great leaders have a mentor. Let's have a look at some of the leaders and see who they used to go to for their early stages and who they still go to be able to raise their game. Let's take first of all Elon Musk, who you've probably heard of. Peter Thiel, who's a very successful billionaire, was the mentor of Elon Musk in the early days, telling him what to do, what not to do. And regardless of your thoughts on Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, you can't argue with being the richest person on the planet as a template for success. What you do with it is up to you. Let's look at somebody else now. Steve Jobs was mentored by Robert Friedland in his very early days, helped him to embrace innovation, the importance of design and making sure that the design was at the heart of everything. That's why you know when you see an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, you can tell the design is different from anything else in the market. And he was the visionary leader, sometimes upsetting people on the way, but that's what he was taught to do, and it worked. Oprah Winfrey, mentored by Mrs. Duncan. What's Mrs. Duncan's first name? Clearly nobody knows. But when she was able to start her career, she understood the value of self-worth. She was able to understand the importance of embracing empathy. You think about watching an old Oprah Winfrey show, I know they're all old, and you realize that what she did better than anything was just be as one with the person that she's interviewing and the audience, and you would watch it and feel the same thing too. And also, she understood the power of education. She'd talk about it all the time, raising your game. And that was going back decades ago when she was starting to talk about this. She was taught to do it by Mrs. Duncan, who I believe was her teacher. Mark Zuckerberg was actually mentored by Steve Jobs. Think about what he does now. Think about what Steve Jobs was doing in the early stages of it. Company culture, focusing on the impact on your audience, and having a long-term vision of the things that Mark Zuckerberg, one of the world's youngest billionaires, is able to do still better than almost anybody else. Richard Branson, personal hero of mine, mentored by Sir Freddie Laker, especially when it came to doing airlines. At some point when he was launching his first airline for Virgin Airlines, all the airports said, we're going to freeze you out. We're going to give you unsociable flight times, so nobody's going to allow themselves to jump on your plane or jump on other times. And so Richard Branson sued them, and he won. And they had to change, the authorities had to change when his airlines were allowed to fly from the airports. And it changed the game. He was able to raise it, make his money, and have one of the world's most successful stories about flying in the skies. Nothing to do with air balloons. We don't need to talk about that, but Sir Richard Branson, there you go. Maya Angelou, mentored by Mrs. Flowers. And he's saying, who's Mrs. Flowers? I don't know. I've never met Maya Angelou, and unfortunately she's no longer with us. But she found a love for language. She learned to overcome the silence that she felt and also make self-expression at the heart of everything she shared. And if you Google Maya Angelou or you're very aware of her work, you'll know that it's also personal. That's why it reaches people all across the world, because they feel it as being personal to them as well. Serena Williams, mentored by King Richard, Her dad, Richard Williams, if you've seen King Richard starring Will Smith, then you'd be very aware about the success story that she comes through with her sister as well. Learn to master the game, have mental toughness, handle pressure, and that's why she's been one of the most successful sports people of all time, of all genders. And she continues to do incredible stuff, helping people and mentoring others to raise their game too. Warren Buffett was mentored by Benjamin Graham. Who's Benjamin Graham? I don't know. I just found this on Google. But I'll tell you that he learned the value of investments. He learned about risk management and also patience. Invest and wait, or invest and sell. But he knew exactly how to do it, and that's why he became one of the world's richest men as well. He also talks about the power and importance of public speaking. So if you don't do public speaking, Warren Buffett is one of the people who told you you should have done it. Contact Dave and speak on stage, and let's see how we can raise the game for you and your team as well. Jeff Bezos, we'll just use him as the last example here, by David E. Shaw, who taught him the importance of e-commerce when nobody else was doing it. He created an online bookstore when everybody like Barnes and Noble was saying, no, people want to fill the books and they want to go into a proper bookstore. He said, no, we can shift them online and we can also get people to have them delivered to their house. That's how it's going to work. He learned his business acumen from there and the importance of innovation in technology. Those things were taught to him by David E. Shaw. Now, whatever industry you're in, you're going to be thinking, okay, so that sounds about right. What about kind of who should I be working with? And what should I do to work out whether they're the right person for me? Well, let's look at the proof of thought leadership next. So you need to be able to get somebody who's right for you. Now, if you're enjoying this and you find it fascinating, then please put so in the comments wherever you are around the world. If I'm going live, and do so in the comments. And if I'm going live now at this moment and you put, and I'm looking at the comment section now. If I can read out and answer your questions, I will now. If not, I'll go back later on and I'll type them. That's my little typing face. I'll type them into the comments so you can see that as an answer directly, because I make sure that I can deliver for you all the time. So proof of thought leadership. This is what you need to do to ask to see. First of all, are they a master of their craft? Find out if they know their field inside and out. Ask them loads of questions. First thing that I do with anybody is have a discovery call. Let them ask me anything. Am I telling them all the answers? Well, no, because they'll get the basic answers, but that doesn't mean they're going to get to where they need to be. You still need to have a mentor who will say, don't jump and grow wings on the way down until you're ready to jump. Or if you do it, you get to go, two hands. And I was waving two hands and making that noise. If you're listening to the podcast, it kind of fall into place now. Also, you've got to make sure they're a trailblazer. What are they doing that's new, bringing fresh, game-changing ideas to the table? One of the things that happened to me when I started mentoring during the pandemic and teaching people the Industry Icon program is a number of people turned around and said, this is fantastic, Dave, you've done it all. Well, what I did after that was I went back into the game, speaking and hosting premium events all around the world, and the industry had changed so dramatically. Everything from getting clients to travel to expenses to all these things are completely different from the way they were before. Also, people have access to more information than they've ever had before. So the old way of going out and saying, let me tell you because I'm smarter than you, doesn't work. People in the audience are smarter than you are in most cases, but they might not know what you know. And sometimes they're watching to consolidate and prove that what they thought was right because they're actually cross-checking it with an expert like you. So it does change, and it is important you're there. Right, next up, industry shaker. Your thought leader that you're going to work with, are they shaking up the industry? Are they doing stuff that has a measurable impact in their space? It's a strange thing that most people don't know, but if you've ever been to Dubai or you've ever been to the Middle East and all the many wonderful countries there, you may well have been to a brunch of some description. And brunches are great here. You come along, you basically leave your brain at the door, and you enjoy the hospitality of the best food ever in a safe environment where you can eat, drink, be merry, dance, do whatever you want amongst people who are just enjoying the party. It's amazing. It's one of the best things ever. But I started that, and you're going to say, Dave, what do you mean you started the brunches? I didn't start the brunches, but I did start the all-you-can-eat and drink sensation. That's across Dubai, it's across the Middle East, it's in almost every country. What's your proof, Dave? Well, 30 years ago, we started a thing in my bar, which was Champions Bar. I'm a Marriott Hotel, JW Marriott Hotel. We started a thing called the 100 Club. All you can eat and drink for 100 dirhams, which in real money for anywhere else is probably about, should we say about £27. if you're in the UK. Actually, about £25 in the UK, about 27 maybe in US dollars. But anyway, you can Google it, find out exactly how much 100 dirhams was in those days as opposed to now. And people said it won't work. They said, what a ridiculous idea, what incredible promotion. That's not going to, people will just reject it, and financially it wouldn't make it work. It was incredible, and it just worked big time. And I took it from an idea that I was working with a guy called Roger, it's a real name, and he had long blonde hair, and he used to do a special £25 all you can eat and drink session in Middlesbrough. And I was the host of his event. I was doing party night themes and games and DJing it and all sorts. I was the entertainer. And I took that idea when I came to Dubai. I went, oh, this is really good. 30 years ago, and that's what happened. Do I get paid commission? No, I don't get anything. Do people believe that I invented it? No, they don't. But the point is, when I share it with people, and I've got proof, I can show you the early days of it. I've not got a photo here, but I'll probably find one and share it with you later, if you ask. I can share with you when we first did the 100 Club. It was messy, but it was incredible. So there you go. Your thought leader has to be proven to be an industry shaker. They've got to also be a respected voice. People should know them. Their peers and professionals should turn around and say, well, if they say it, then it's probably true. Also, on top of that, community builder. They've got to be able to turn around when we start mentoring and get you involved with a community, with people that are interested. And you can say, well, who do I know? Well, I can tell you exactly who you need to talk to because they've been doing it for such a long time and everybody knows them too. A real thought leader is not looking backwards, they're looking forwards. They can spot trends and challenges long before other people do. A true thought leader will turn around to you, for instance, and when everyone's panicking about AI and going, oh my goodness, we're all going to lose our jobs, we'll say, no, it's going to enhance your job. What you'll lose is your original job description because you'll have AI in it. And if you're spitting it out and saying, I'm not doing it and I'm working in construction or nursing or some of the things that aren't really going to be affected quite so much, then you're right. You can still be there on your own merits. But every other industry will embrace it and do something with it, even if they're kind of holding back now. And when you go for your next job or you start your business, if you're not using AI at the center of all the heavy lifting duties that you normally would hire somebody to do your accounts, or look online to see what the best thing is you need, and you're not going to AI and saying, right, give me a strategy for being able to work this out, then you are lagging behind everybody else who's doing it. Remember when I talk about this, I've done this many times, the formula for being paid. I'll move like that, and I'm back again. The formula for being paid is this: the effect of what you do and how cheaply you can be replaced by somebody else. Never forget that's a really important factor about what happens when you need to get paid. So, back to this original list. They also have to be a great communicator. Speaking is really important. Warren Buffett talks about this. I mentioned him earlier. Communicating is key. If they're really good and it's all in their head, but they can't share it, it's absolutely no use. Do you know that 70% of great inventions never get invented? Why? Because the inventor who creates a prototype has no ability to sell it onto a potential sponsor or onto somebody who will invest in it. And so their great invention dies with them. This is 100% true. Scary, isn't it? There you go. So that's why communication is so important. As well as communication, you can be driven by passion. The person you want to talk to is so boring about other subjects. Why? Because they love the subject that you love as well. And they're authentic and trustworthy because they live, breathe, and experience it all the time. This person's a lifelong learner, always making sure that what they know is at the top of the game and it's current. Just like picking fruit off a tree, you go, oh, that's the latest. You got it from them, it must be true. And also they get stuff done. They're an action starter. It's so important when you do anything to raise your game and actually do something with it. Let me show you what happens when you start working with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Let's go back to this. So the key to what we're going to be working on is we're going to create a different way of making a relationship with your audience. Right now we're going through a number of different changes. People are trying to find a way to move forward in the industrial revolution that we're going into. Digitization, robotics, automation scares people. And as you know, if you're not able to evolve, you won't be in a position where you're able to survive and keep moving forward. So my proposal is, when you look at your marketing and you create relationships with your teams, instead of doing what you normally do, which is keep it internal, you change it and put it out there for testing. Get more people involved in it. Because the figures are quite clear. At 50%, some people can see as being normal. This is not going to be normal. It's going to be tiny little percentages that make that huge difference to your market. And that's why, in my opinion, from now on, you've got to change the way you do it and really move forward to create that kind of success. You don't normally see the ponytail, do you? Look, there's a ponytail looking a bit grey than it did in that particular picture, but it doesn't matter, it still counts. If you're listen to the podcast, I have a ponytail. Really? A real pony? No. Did he cut it off a pony? No. It's back of my hair. Really? Yes, it is. Okay. So, your mentor, your choice of thought leader, has got to have some kind of proof that they've been doing it for a long time and not just making it up and not just sitting outside a cafeteria with a cup of coffee and going, let me just talk to random people. Who wants to talk to me? They've been doing it in the industry and we've got respect for doing that. But the question you've got to ask is, will that person actually make a great mentor if they work with you? You've got to look at what you need. And it might not be the exact same thing as they're providing, but it should be in that same wheelhouse, same kind of thing. If you don't have somebody who can do it, then obviously AI can help with it to a degree, but AI will only tell you the facts that it can get its hands on. Sometimes an expert is somebody who turns around and says, yeah, I know what everyone else is saying, but trust me, that's not what happens. So when I talk to an audience or I talk to somebody and do speaker training, typically, everyone's taught to know their presentation inside and out. Practice it, practice it, practice it. You know, word for word, you need to know what's coming next. No, you don't. You need to be able to work the audience so you've got a great rapport with them. You need to know your subject, but you can easily get away with having on bullet points on a presentation. You can even get away with having bullet points on a bit of paper in front of you or using your phone. But it's about the rapport that comes across between you and your audience to be in the moment with them. If they've got questions, they will ask you questions. But if you are making it up as you go along, but following a kind of format and a balance between that, it means that you feel and sound fresh to the audience. It sounds genuine and not rehearsed. And that's why it's really important to know somebody who can tell you that before you start doing your public speaking route and your career. And if you're already doing it and you're saying, but I don't do it like that, well, trust me, the rapport with the audience is almost as important as everything else. Here's the thing, right? I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. This is something that people talk about, and that's absolute rubbish. They say that, did you know that 70% of communication is body language, and 23% is emotional, and only 7% is the words that you use, and that is utter rubbish. It's just not true. That's not true at all. That fact came from somebody who did a test and turned around and said, no, it's taken out of context. I didn't mean it like that. I mean it differently. Think about it. I mean, I'm a hypnotist. I do stuff to get people to do crazy stuff. If I just basically hinted at it with body language or the tone of voice, it wouldn't make any difference at all. You've got to use the words. You've got to absorb the words. It's got to be the right ones chosen, the right order, at the right time to get the right effect from people. So it is about the words that you use. And it is 70% of what you say and how you deliver it. So lots of things get said by people. You've got to get the right people who know what they're talking about to be able to understand and work with that as well. So the question is, will they make a great mentor for you? Well, you've got to ask the questions that are right for that then. Are they a knowledge sharer or do they keep it to themselves? Some people don't like to share it, and some people, like myself, just want you to be better than me. That's why I'll tell you anything, and I'll share with you any question. I've got an answer. I will give that to you straight away. Active listener, are they paying attention? Do they value your input? Are they just there to listen to the sound of their own voice? Many people who are at that level really don't think that anybody else has got anything to teach them. For those of us who've been around for a little while, you realize that whenever you get a chance to spend some time mentoring or coaching others, you learn a ton about the subject that maybe you hadn't considered before. If I've got to share with you a theory or an experience or some impact thing that's going to make a difference to you, as I share it with you, I'm going, ooh, that's another angle I hadn't thought of. Because I'm trying to apply it to you, and maybe I've never worked with something like you before. So I've got to twist it, I've got to change it, I've got to adapt it to reach you and your audience for it to have a better effect. So all the time, whoever you're working with should be thinking like that. They give real feedback, honest advice to help you grow and thrive. If your mentor just tells you what you want to hear, you're never going to grow. And then you find out later on the whole world turns around and says you were rubbish. And you say, well, why didn't you say something? I didn't want to offend you. I prefer to offend somebody, but also teach them how to do it better so they just save time. They've got to be easy to reach and accessible and approachable and always make time for you. Well, if you hire their services, that's what happens. Proven success, I've mentioned that before. They want to have you do well and they want you to excel, but they've done it themselves. It's proof that they can do it. They empower you and make you think stronger of yourself. They make you think independently of what the world is telling you, and you can make smarter and bolder decisions than anybody else around you because you brainstormed it with your mentor and they've shown you why you shouldn't do it the way that everyone else is doing and why it's really important to start doing other things. Shared values, they align with you. They don't irritate you. They have the same kind of ideas and outlook on life. And when you share stuff, they can tell you, well, that'll work and that what doesn't work from the point of view that they care about what it is that you're thinking about. They're flexible. As a teacher, they need to adapt their approach to your learning style. They will know that. But you also have to adapt to them because sometimes if they're new at it or they're really cranky, and some mentors are cranky, they're not experts at coaching. The right ones know exactly how to adapt to you so they can bring out the very best in you. Because here's the thing, and most people don't know this, communication is not about what you say. It's not. I'm not harping back to what I said earlier about the body language thing. Communication is about what they received. So when you communicate and share something, it can go all over the place, but it matters what goes into their ears and goes into their brain that they can act on. That's what communication is about. Otherwise, if you go blah, blah, blah for 2 hours really loud to people and they don't take anything on board, it was a wasted communication. Does that make sense? Good, fantastic. Thank you for being with me so far. If you just joined the show, lovely to have you. Speak on stage. I'm Dave Crane talking about mentoring. And as I mentioned there, big picture thinker. So we're looking for all the successes that you can have beyond just a short-term win. And last but not least here, they lead by example, as I mentioned to you earlier about the importance there of me being on stages. I don't do it by accident. I do it because I want to share with you. But when I talk about how to do it, things are different. Technology have changed, and it changes all the time. The requirements of audiences is different than it has been in the past. That's why it's so important to be able to understand and how to be able to translate that to people by leading by example. If I pitch for a job and I don't get it, I want to know why. I want to know what's gone wrong. I want to know who they've got that's much better than me. Because if I can't get the answers, how am I going to fix it for me? And how am I going to then fix it for you and share with you the wisdom to fast track for you to get to where you need to be? Does that make sense? Good. Excellent. It's good having you with me. And we're talking about legacy. Ultimately, you want to get a mentor to speed up your legacy so you can guarantee that you get in the end what it is that you set out to do. And as I've mentioned many times, it's not about creating a legacy when you die. It's about having a legacy while you're a living legend. That's what living legend is. So you can enjoy every single day. Good days, bad days, ugly days, doesn't matter. It's about creating things as you go and jumping and growing wings on the way down. All right, then. So your legacy has got lots of lovely options here. I'll give you a couple of them here. You can see the diagram. And these are just some of the things that you could consider. When I work with people, I show them how to speak live, get global reach. I talk about how to get deals done, how to have more influence, paid consultancies and memberships, monetizing your podcasts, sponsored ambassador for things. You can talk about organizing events, mentoring, coaching, the book business model, seminars, retreats and summits, online training courses, PR, networking and interviews, mastermind groups, paid content creation and licensing products and systems, and how that will turn into finances for you. And it's always fascinating to look at that and wonder, well, which bits for me? Maybe all of them, maybe some of them. It's like a buffet. What do you want to work on? What things interest you? What's the lowest hanging fruit that people will pay for that you actually want to do? Once you've got that, you've got a much better position to be able to do stuff rather than just turning around and grabbing this and saying, right, I'm going to make this work. Well, you need to have a better idea because you'll spend forever doing this. Whereas what you really want to do is go, actually, I only need to do that bit with a little bit of this bit, and then it's perfect. Make sense? Good. So if you want all this stuff, let me just share with you the Thought Leaders Playbook, as well as getting to work with me and get mentored by me. This is a Thought Leaders Playbook. This is my new book. What a great addition that would be for somebody stocking over Christmas or in the festive season or for New Year. If you're thinking about reinventing yourself, starting a business, or just doing some reading over the festive season, then you could do a lot worse than get yourself that book there, the Thought Leaders Playbook. I wrote it by studying what thought leaders do and also breaking down the steps to be able to get to where you need to be. And you're thinking, well, Dave, what do I want? Well, you don't need to know what you want. That's all in the book. It will show you what you need to do to position yourself. There is a way of doing it, and the methodology is there. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the Thought Leaders Playbook is now available on Amazon. If you want to get it, then there's a QR code. Just scan it with your phone, pause the video, and get it for yourself, or send it to your friends. All you need to do, by the way, is go to www.bit.ly/thought leaders playbook, or just look it up in Amazon. You'll find exactly where to get it. I'll put it into the comment section of this particular post so you can get it. So what do people say about it? Well, lots of things, and I'm going to look at that in a moment. Now, if you just joined me, you're watching Speak on Stage, I'd love to have your likes, your comments, your thoughts. I'd love to get a chance to work with you. If you're worried about it and saying, Dave, I don't know if I can afford you, or Dave, I'm not sure what we do together, message me. Let me have a look at what it is that you're doing and what your challenge is, and I'll tell you very straight what it is I can do for you. And let's do that in the new year. Forbes said at the beginning of 2024, personal branding is a top 7 in-demand skill for 2024. Do you agree with that? Do you think it was really important to grow your personal brand? I think this is a year where more people have become less invisible than ever before, but so many people do it wrong, and so many people think you can just put anything out there and it's okay because it was from me. No, you got to do it the right way. Otherwise, people will be scared off and they won't want to work with you, and you can't patch it up unless you reinvent big time. People will take you for face value, and if your face has nothing to say, they're just not interested. So what do you do next? Well, you got to create trust, credibility, and authority. You got to prove that you're the best at what you do. You got to create it so people turn around, work with you, and go, "That's amazing. Yeah, I only want to work with you in the future." Trust, credibility, and authority. There's lots of ways of doing that. But here's a question for you: if I can talk about 2024 and say, it's the year of the brand, according to Forbes and many other things, and people like me too, then have you built your actual brand yet? Is your name out there in the market? Do people know what to expect? Do you find that you go along and you do an event and you don't have to explain anything? People just know that you're doing what you do, so they trust you completely. If not, then we have to address that. Here's what leaders are saying about the Thought Leaders Playbook, which is a book I showed you earlier, the one that I've got on Amazon, which make a great Christmas present or New Year present to yourself. Treat yourself. Don't worry about anybody else getting it for you. They might not. You buy it for yourself as a special gift, and I'll sign it for you in your mind, because I don't know where you live in the world. But anyway, do that. So here's what great leaders are saying about it. Jeff Smith, dear friend of mine, the world's #1 best-selling author on KPI and business management, says, in your hands you hold more than just a book. You hold the keys to unlocking your leadership potential. And as you turn each page, allow the words to resonate. You can read that for yourself, but you can see what Jeff thinks of it. Lots of people. Dave Ulrich, the father of modern HR, Forbes Global Top 5 coach. He talks about the 6 steps on the industry icon and how important for you to grow your brand. Lots of people can mention Joel Comm, best-selling author, speaker, and influencer, really knows his stuff as well, and he does some great stuff about it. We've also mentioned about this gentleman here. You may have seen him. Many of these guys have actually been on my podcast this season. Raymond Aaron, best-selling author for New York Times. And one of the things about Raymond Aaron, I've watched him go on stage and in 90 minutes make $1 million out of the audience just by talking to them about what he can do with them and how he can help them. I see him as one of my mentors as well. Genius and really, really, really lovely guy as well. Dr. Corey John Block, if you don't know him, is the UAE's top business coach, loved by everybody out here. Great speaker, sportsman, lots of different things like that. He walks the talk, is the real deal. And funnily enough, he talks about that. Don't just walk the talk. He says Dave Crane walks you through every step from overcoming public speaking jitters to conquering the dreaded imposter syndrome. This book is packed with practical solutions and confidence building and boosting strategies. It's about building a tribe, not just followers, but a community that champions your success. What sets this book apart is its unflinching focus on monetizing your expertise. That's true. I want you to make a lot of money and be more successful than you've ever been before. And thank you to Corey for that wonderful testimonial. And also Richard Hill, a guy who knows so much about what's going to happen in the elections, around the elections, what causes it, and what many of the governments should have done to be able to deal with things that maybe is coming their way. Read the book, Richard Hill, CEO for investment banker and also technology influencer. And I won't read it out, but he clearly loves it too. Lots of great people. This gentleman you may know, especially if you're on LinkedIn, Anthony J. James, Australia's #1 LinkedIn influencer with over 4 million followers. Yeah, 4 million followers. And Anthony said in the Thought Leaders Playbook, for a chapter on storytelling is particularly impactful because Dave's technique for crafting compelling narratives are a must for any communicator, and that's true indeed. Thank you very much, Anthony. So the Thought Leaders Playbook is available, as indeed am I, for mentoring in 2025, unless you need it now, in which case then you contact me. This is a QR code, by the way, as I showed you earlier, to get the Thought Leaders Playbook. Or just go to Amazon and put in Thought Leaders Playbook, Dave Crane, and you'll get access to where you can buy it from and how much it's going to cost to deliver it to your house, so you can have it in front of you and maybe even unwrap it. But you have to wrap it up yourself unless you get, well, Amazon wrap it up for you, so that's okay. Maybe do it in a Christmas wrapping so you can leave it all the way through. It's heavy, and then you can do it then. So there's a QR code, by the way. I'll go to www.bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Thought Leaders Playbook. And so, after all that's been said, hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to work with me as your mentor and you want to see what I can do, then this is the thing. If you had all these challenges, or you've got other things which many people have, Dave, got a presentation coming up. Dave, I want to be more noticed in my work. Dave, I've started a new business and not sure how to market it properly. Or Dave, I want to get the balance between work and life because I'm spending far too much of my work and coming home grumpy. I've got my daughter, here's one today. My daughter's an artist. She's doing really well. She's got a exhibition coming up in Paris. Should I do some publicity? Yes, you should. Should I just put it out there? No, you should ask the organizers of the event if they're cool with that before you put anything else out. See what I did there? So if you want a mentor that works with you with lots of different options, then please contact me before it's too late. It's never too late. As long as you're still with us, it's all right. But there we go. I've got a busy time coming up over the holidays, and I've got loads of things happening in the new year, but you want to be part of that. There's the QR code. Scan it off your phone or go beep and press it on your device, and it should open the internet for you as we speak. My solution to getting things done is to jump and grow wings on the way down. 2025 will be incredibly challenging, more so than 2024, but you should be ready for it. The question is this: are you ready? If the answer is no, then it's time to raise your game and do VIP mentoring with me, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure having you hanging with me here. I love the fact that you've spent all this time going, yes, Dave, this is great, wonderful, thank you so much, and I mean the same thing to you as well. I'm going to leave you with a QR code, give you a chance to actually see where you can go and contact me, and then let's have a chat. Let's see what we can do to raise your game, whether it's involving, your personal branding, your speaking, you want to do a show online. One of the things that's happened is LinkedIn's changing its LinkedIn Live audio, which used to be like Clubhouse. It's getting rid of that. It's actually going to have people broadcasting like this. And for those of you who've been in my radar, or I've been on your radar for the last couple of years, I've been doing this for 5 years, like this, on camera, adding extra bits and doing incredible stuff. So if you want to raise your game and reach your audience, then that's the time to talk to me, because I guarantee the things you're doing before aren't going to work. I just realized it looks like a plant is coming out the top of my head. Doesn't make me a bad person, just means that I'm like Swamp Thing. Hey, maybe you can get it in this color. That'd be really cool. All right, then. Have the most amazing day. Look after yourself. And I'll be sharing with you this QR code before I finish everything. Look at that. Last Chance Saloon. Have the most amazing day. And I'll talk to you soon on Speak on Stage. Thank you for tuning into another insightful episode of Speak on Stage with Dave Crane. We hope you found today's conversation inspiring and packed with valuable insights to help you to amplify your presence on stage too. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more aspiring speakers just like yourself. Remember, the stage is your platform to shine. And with the right tools and mindset, you can captivate any audience, anywhere. So keep honing your craft, refining your message, and never shy away from the spotlight. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive even deeper into the world of public speaking and performance. Until then, keep speaking, keep shining,
and keep making an impact. This is Dave Crane signing off. See you next time on Speak on Stage.